In a desperate bid to save their family home, these 14-year-old twin sisters did the unthinkable. They robbed a bank. On the morning of October 29, 2002, two young girls burst into the Barnegat, New Jersey branch of the Sun National Bank. One of them held what looked like a silver handgun. "Give me your money," she demanded of the teller. "What is this, a joke?" asked the teller, since it was Halloween week and the girls seemed too young to be actual robbers. "No, I'm not effing playing," answered the girl, her face obscured by a black knit ski mask. "Give us your money!" Her sister, wearing a black nylon skull cap pulled so tightly it was almost transparent, held out a trash bag to be filled with cash. The teller gave up what she had, $3,550. Then the two girls ran outside and jumped into their getaway car, a 1992 Buick Skylark. Their mother was waiting behind the wheel. Planning the heist. 14-year-old twin sisters Chelsea and Alicia Wortman thought their family was in serious financial trouble. The girl's stepfather, Kevin Jones, a 6'4", 310-pound construction worker and convicted cocaine dealer, had been recently hospitalized for congestive heart failure and was unable to go back to work. The girl's parents, who had been having financial troubles for years, had filed for bankruptcy protection to save the house from foreclosure. At the same time of the robbery, up to 12 people lived in the 4-bedroom house. Chelsea, Alicia, their mother and stepfather, Kathleen and Kevin Jones, their sister and brother, and 2 stepsisters, Kevin's mother and brother, a friend, and a former coworker. The morning of the heist, the girls overheard 2 troubling phone calls. One from a lawyer saying bankruptcy proceedings were stalled, which meant they still could lose their house. The other about an overdue bill, says supervising assistant Ocean County prosecutor Michael Paulus, who later prosecuted Kevin Jones. "We were having money problems in our house and my family was upset," Chelsea testified later. So she quickly thought of a plan. "I decided to rob a bank." When she told her mother about her plan, Kathleen Wortman Jones, 34, laughed and resisted. "She told me, 'You're not going to do this. You're going to get into trouble,'" Chelsea recalled. But Chelsea insisted, "No, I'm for real. We need this money," and began to prepare by painting the orange tip of her brother's plastic BB gun with metallic nail polish to make it look more dangerous. Within an hour, Kathleen had agreed to a plan to rob a bank that was just 5 minutes away. Initially, Kathleen, Chelsea, and Chelsea's stepsister, Devaney, then 16, were in it together. But on their ride to the bank, Devaney decided the plan was too risky, so they dropped her off back home. It was then, Paula says, that Kathleen ordered Devaney to go get Alicia. A few weeks before, the family had started going to church again, so right before the heist, Chelsea and Alicia paused, dropped to their knees, bowed their heads, and prayed. Then they burst through the bank doors. A done deal. After they pulled off the heist, the twins and their mother went back home, passing a cop car speeding toward the bank. They walked in, Kathleen slapped the money on the kitchen table, and Chelsea announced, "We did it!" Their stepfather flipped out. "I was raging, telling them to get the F out of my house," testified Jones, 38. But instead he ended up driving his wife, the twins, and Devaney to Atlantic City that afternoon. Jones did this, he says, because he panicked and wanted to get away from town. However, prosecutors alleged that the adults laundered the stolen money by gambling at Caesars Casino. The idea was to cash in their chips for different dollar bills so the money wouldn't be traced to them. Meanwhile, the girls shopped at a nearby mall. On the trail. By the next night, the family was back from Atlantic City, and on the Barnegat police were starting to put the pieces together. They saw the twins get out of a car at a convenience store and made the connection between them and the petite figures in the grainy surveillance photos caught by the bank cameras. The police were able to get the license plate number of the car, which was registered to Jones. On November 1st, 3 days after the robbery, a SWAT team raided the Joneses' home to apprehend the people they believed had robbed the bank at gunpoint. The officers brought the twins and their mother, whom they suspected was involved, down to the police station. Kevin Jones wasn't home at the time, but his mother was. She proclaimed her step-granddaughters innocent as they were being led away. But Detective Sergeant Michael Duffy, who was present when the girls were arrested, says Alicia blew their cover right then and there. "Grandma, shut up! Me and Chelsea robbed the effing bank," Duffy heard her shout. Complicated girls. When we picked them up, the twins had a tough shell around them, the detective sergeant remembers. But after we started talking to them, they softened up and were very respectful, very polite. At first, Chelsea tried to take responsibility for the crime, which, according to friends and family, was typical of her. They describe her as a mother hen who likes to take charge and fix problems. She is the caretaker, says stepsister Danielle, 16. She wants to help everybody. But she also loud and outspoken and often clashed with her teachers. She likes Jay-Z and Ja Rule and dresses like the rap star she idolizes, covering her head with bandanas or wearing her long dark hair in cornrows. Alicia, a blue-eyed strawberry blonde, is more introverted than her sister. She's a huge Mariah Carey fan, loves singing along to her ballads, and enjoys sketching and cooking. But, like her sister Alicia, has a tough side. After a string of fights at school and frequent absences, the school administration ordered her to be tutored at home. I don't think Alicia had the maturity to weigh what was right and what was wrong, said friend Tiffany Ford, 17, who has known the girls since 1997 and lives 2 blocks away. I don't think she understood what would happen if they got caught. But Chelsea, she knew what would happen. She was down for the ride, would do whatever. In the interrogation room at the Bargonet police station, the questioning dragged on all night. By morning, Duffy had patiently secured confessions from the twins and their mother. As the girls were led away in handcuffs to a youth shelter, they asked to see Duffy once more. He met them outside the police station, and though the girls were handcuffed, they both grabbed his jacket. It was the closest they could come to giving him a hug. Good times, bad times. The twins never really knew their biological father. Kathleen Wortman left him when the girls were very young, and a few years after the divorce, their father completely vanished. Eventually, Kathleen met Jones, and the couple had a daughter, Kiana, now 11. As preteens, the twins attended Mount Zion Baptist Church in Barnegat with the family, where the girls sang in the choir and were known as cheerful and obedient. They were model children, says their pastor, Reverend Richard Bell. Their friend Tiffany recalls that when she first met the family, they had an orderly home. It seemed like they had money, a nice car, a nice living room set, she says. You had to take your shoes off in the house, couldn't put your hands on the glass table, or talk with your mouth full. This orderly life apparently started to change as Chelsea and Alicia approached their teens. Money tensions mounted, and Kevin and Kathleen started fighting, and the girls were rebelling. They began smoking, and, says Jones, they didn't want to go back to school. Partly, he explains, because they felt out of place. Chelsea and Alicia's mother is white, and their stepfather is black. And Barnegat is a predominantly white town. The school situation only got worse in middle school, when both girls came down with mononucleosis and missed their 3 months of classes. When they got better, Jones says they had zero interest in going back to school. That's when Alicia was transferred to the home tutoring program. She couldn't function at school, says Jones. Someone would say something to her, and before they could get another word out, she'd punch them. Chelsea was still enrolled in school, but she wasn't doing much better. Jones would drop her off at school on his way to work, only to have his wife call saying she had walked right back home. Crime and Punishment. In January 2003, the twins pleaded guilty and were sentenced to a maximum of 4 years at a juvenile detention center in Bordentown, New Jersey. Now they live with 46 other girls, ages 14 to 20, and attend school 5 days a week. There's also a salon where inmates can receive cosmetology training. Although the twins aren't roommates, they see each other all the time. Even so, their stepsister, Danelle, is certain that Chelsea and Alicia are homesick and want their freedom. But Detective Sergeant Duffy and Supervising Assistant Prosecutor Paulus are confident that the sisters are better off in the detention center. When 2 14-year-old children rob a bank, says Paulus, you have to look to their parents for fault. The best thing that have ever happened to those children was getting caught. Paulus believes the girls got into this trouble in the first place because they were worried about losing their home. Now they have a warm, dry place to sleep, plenty to eat, and they're getting an education, Paulus says. Duffy has been to see the girls a couple of times, and during a recent visit, he found Chelsea happily cornrowing hair in the prison salon. She resumed her Bible studies and recently sent a letter to her friend Tiffany, vowing to create a positive future. When I go home, the things I want to do will be through God, she wrote. I want to live my life. It took getting locked up for me to realize that, but it's true. Alicia is making her mark in other ways. In a hallway at the detention center are 2 large wall murals filled with messages of success and perseverance. The artist signed them E.W. Alicia Wortman. Life today. As for their parents, Jones went on trial this past September. He faced a maximum of 50 years for his crimes, including covering up the robbery and endangering the children. Jones eventually accepted the plea bargain of 5 years in prison for receiving stolen money and hindering apprehension of his family. He'll be sentenced and sent to prison in January. The twins testified against their stepfather in exchange for a reduced sentence. During her testimony, Alicia looked at him and said, I'm mad at him and my mom for getting me in this situation. Kathleen pleaded guilty to armed robbery and using her children in a crime. She was sentenced to 15 years in New Jersey State Prison for women. She can't be paroled until 2016, when she has served 13 years of her sentence. And then until her daughters are released in 2007 or sooner, due in part to their testimony against their stepfather, her only contact with the twins will be by mail. In the end, the Jones family lost the house Chelsea and Alicia wanted to save so badly. And all of their siblings are now separated, some living in foster homes and others with relatives. I struggled so hard to keep my family together against all odds, says Jones. We'd come so far, and then in 15 minutes, 14 years of struggle was destroyed.